Well, there are a lot of reasons that it is valuable to know what you want, but we want you to look at it in a way that you don't usually look at it. So, since you are source energy in these physical bodies, and since being that extension of source energy, you've been sifting through the details of life and coming to many conclusions about wanted and unwanted, you've been launching lots of rockets of desire. You've been sifting the contrast just like you knew you would when you came. And you've been setting forth these rockets of desires, these powerful rockets of desires that have been accumulating in what we are calling your vortex of creation. Some of you have been listening to us and you really get what we're talking about. So since this vortex of creation has been accumulating, all of the desires that you have been identifying are already in place and have already achieved a state of being, a vibrational state of being. But what you want already is in that powerful vibrational sense. So since it already is, when we ask you, do you know what you are wanting? What we're really asking you to do is to focus yourself into compliance, isn't the best word, but into resonance with your desire. When you know what you want, it's not missing. There's not a missing feeling of it. In other words, you're not worried about it. You're not doubting it. When you know what you want, you're vibrationally up to speed with the vortex version, and it is coming into reality for you more and more, into what you want to call tangible reality for you more and more, all day, every day. You following that? Because when you want it, but you're yearning for it, you don't know what you want. You have known it. You've given birth to it. It exists in a vibrational version, but you're not knowing it until there's resonance between you and your desire. And that is right there the most important distinction. That's the most important distinction in being a deliberate creator. Once you get that, you've got everything. So have you been listening to us for a while? Do you like knowing that you are the creator of your own reality? Yes. Do you like knowing that you are a vibrational being? Now that's big. Yes. You like all this seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, licking stuff. We know you do. We know you like all of that. But do you like knowing that you are a vibrational being? Because when you make peace with the fact that you are vibrational first, then you realize that you are creating on so many levels, and that the most satisfying part of it for you may be when it finally fleshes out into something that you call tangible reality. But there's so much pleasure to be had in molding the vibrational data of life, molding the vibrational clay of life. There's so much satisfaction in that along the way. And sometimes, frequently, chronically, most of the time, you aren't that excited about creating your reality until you can see it, hear it, smell it, taste it, touch it. You're not that excited about the concept of what you want, but we want you to be, because there's so much pleasure to be had once you've launched a desire, even before it is shaped up in the way that you and others can see it, but you're in the sensing of it mode, the beginning of the realization of it mode. That's our favorite new word to describe what we know about this business of creating. It's our favorite new word. It's not new. It's not new to you. It's new in the way we are expressing it in this unfolding of the laws of the universe. You've been sifting and sorting. You get that. Sift, sort, sift, sort, sift, sort. Know what you don't want, know what you do want, know what you don't want, know what you do want. That's all perfectly logical. What you do want becoming a vibrational reality to which, in the beginning especially, you're usually, hardly ever, not a vibrational match to. You're not a vibrational match to what you want when you've launched it from your awareness of what you don't want. That's logical, isn't it? But you've got to find a way to become more and more of a vibrational match to this thing that has not yet manifested before it can manifest. And by manifest, we want to say before it can be realized by you. Realized. Before you can interpret it. Before you can be in the right place at the right time. Before you can be aware. Before you can follow the clues. Before you have the sense of it. Esther is laughing last night. She and her sister are in their sleeping room. And they'd been talking. And right before they were falling asleep, from the other side of the room, Esther hears Jeannie say, "Oh!" And Esther said, "What?" "Did you bring my hairbrush?" This is really cosmically important, so stay with us. And Esther began to laugh because Jeannie had been there a month ago at her house and had left a round hairbrush on a shelf in the dressing room closet where Esther gets ready and when Jeannie is there when they get ready together. And Esther had not even noticed that brush. It had been in there for a month and Esther had not seen it. It was on a shelf that Esther doesn't use for anything else. There are other things on the shelf and Esther had not even seen it. But yesterday morning as she was packing, she had her suitcase all packed. She had dropped it onto the floor. She was ready to drag it out to the car. And she turned around and looked at the shelf and saw a brush she did not recognize. And Esther thought, I should take that. I might need it. So she put it in her bag. And now, hours later, Jeannie is saying, "Did you bring my brush?" And Esther said, "Yes." And Jeannie said, "I was afraid you didn't get my email." Esther didn't get her email. She got her vibrational mail. She got her cosmic mail. She got her vibrational intention. And in a state of non-resistance. You are all communicating with one another, with this universe, with one another, with this universe, much more vibrationally than you are in any other way. You think you are so good the way you chat it up. You think these social medias, they are so inferior to your vibrational medias, you see. And when you start realizing that you are vibrational transmitters and receivers, but that you've got to tend to your frequency. Now, Esther, she really could care less whether she ever tends to the hairbrush frequency or not. But she does like being in communication with her sister. She does like doing the thing at the right time without knowing the whole story. You see, that's the thing. Esther did not know the whole story. She did not get that email. She's still going to look back in the days of email that she has not read yet. There are hundreds of them. To have fun with that email that surely is in there somewhere. But Esther did not have to get the email before she got the message. And so what we are wanting to submit to you, and we think it's a really wonderful thing as you come into an awareness of this, is that Esther did not know the whole story. She didn't realize Jeannie had left the brush. She didn't realize that Jeannie wanted the brush. She didn't realize that Jeannie had contacted her about the brush. In other words, Esther was oblivious to any of that. Like you are often oblivious to the desires that you hold in any moment in time. They're not on your vibrational radar, so to speak. They're in your vortex. But if you are understanding that you don't have to hold fast in your mind everything that you've ever decided that you want. You don't have to consider all of that data and detail. Frankly, it would drive you a little nuts if you were trying to hold all the information in your mind. But if instead you would just know that the better you feel, the more resonant you are with that communication cloud in the sky. It's the V cloud, the vibrational cloud. There it is for you to tap into. Don't copyright that. If you get to it before Esther does, she'll be really, really mad at you. Soon she'll just be talking with us all alone. There is this vibrational reality that once you learn how to tune to it, not by trying to hold the details of it constant in your mind, but by reaching for the feeling that is the indicator of your resonance with it. Once you are in constant or chronic or even often resonance with this vibrational well-being, then even though you didn't get the email maybe, even though you didn't get the letter, even though you don't even know the person that you're about to rendezvous with, even though you don't have those facts or those details, you'll be right person, right place, right time, often. Because there is a vibrational version of how you are moving toward what's in your vortex. We offered this analogy a few weeks ago, and it is such a good analogy to help you to understand that you are offering these vibrations and that you are establishing, without knowing it, a vibrational platform or grid or point of attraction that is filling in. And that you have control over what fills in, not once the momentum of it begins, but before the momentum of it begins. Because when you give your attention to something for as little as 17 seconds, momentum begins. And now another thought like it is going to join it, and another and another and another. And once you cross that 68-second point, you've got a pretty strong point of attraction going on that makes you feel like you want to create your own reality, but that you can't control it. But the reason that you often believe that you cannot control your own reality is because you're not tending to your vibrational frequencies in the beginning of the day when you're fresh and clear. You often just let life occur to you, and whatever happened sort of establishes the grid you're on. And then being on that grid, the momentum gathers, and then you come to a gathering like this where we say you create your own reality, and you say, well, maybe I do, but it doesn't feel like I'm creating my own reality. It feels like reality is creating me. It doesn't feel like I'm thinking my own thoughts. It feels like the thoughts are thinking me. And we say, that's because you're not jumping in and paying attention until there's momentum already established. You want to get out ahead of the manifestation. You want to get out ahead of the momentum. When you find yourself flying high and feeling good, milk it longer until you've established more of a pattern. And it is our promise to you, in time, you will be at this high flying, good feeling, grid frequency often enough that when you dip into a lower one, and you will because stuff happens, you're not blind, you're not deaf, you're not oblivious to what's going on in life. You're watching television. You're talking to your friends. You're aware of what's happening. All kinds of things are going to place you momentarily, temporarily, maybe even for a longer time than you want to, on these lower discs that are going to fill in with more evidence of where you are. That's all just fine. But every chance you get, if you're meditating, if you're making lists of positive aspects, if you're rampaging in appreciation, if you're watching for the things that feel good more and more, you will establish more of a chronic vibrational frequency in that higher frequency so that more of what's in your vortex will begin to fill in, and you will begin to feel two wonderful things. Empowerment, self-empowerment, because you're in control of your vibration, therefore you're in control of your point of attraction. Empowerment and a feeling of worthiness. And we so want you to have those experiences, those emotions that go so tightly together, because you tend to not tend to your frequency, and then stuff happens that you don't like, and then you make such a wrong assumption that someone has deemed you inappropriate and now is giving you stuff you don't want as punishment for your inappropriateness. And there's nothing like that going on. It's that you've simply chosen a frequency that won't let on what you do want and does let on what you don't want. That's all. You create your own frequency. You create your own momentum. You create your own reality. You do. Don't you love knowing that? We love you knowing that. We love you knowing that.